Hi, I'm Nika.
Hi, I'm Jenna,
And
and this
this
is
is
Sixth
Sixth
Sense
Sense
Politics,
Politics,
and
and
welcome
welcome
to
to
our
our
podcast
podcast
series.
series.
As we are both political A level students, we have decided to make our own political podcast to help everybody who studies specifically for the EDEXCEL exam board.
We're frequent guests from school teachers to past political candidates and also school peers.
So, we'd like to start this podcast off by firstly introducing ourselves. So, tell me a bit about yourself, Nika.
Well, um, recently, I'm a 17-year-old girl who's doing politics, geography, and English lit. And my passion started in year 12, so quite late on compared to you. And I recently joined the independent party near us that you got me into, which is quite fun. So canvassing a bit and all the rest of it. And then meeting a bunch of people there was great and hearing local views on local issues, which was amazing. Um, Politics kind of started for me with my mum as she grew up in obviously a communist
Mm.
upbringing. So I started looking into that by reading a book called War, and it's about Russia, Ukraine, and how the US got involved within that conflict. And I'm also currently really intrigued by the ERA movement. Currently writing an essay about that for an essay competition for Wolf, which is I think it's in Oxford.
Wow,
Yeah, quite fun.
great.
Yeah. And then, so really focusing on Phyllis Schlafly, which I'm not really a fan of
No,
because
no.
she's so conservative. She's insane. Well, she's not insane.
But
That's
does
a
not
bit
align with us.
extreme. No, definitely not. And, just keep on doing it. We also recently attended a Palestine lobby that we'll talk about
Yeah.
later, which was really fun. And currently doing some stuff with the Green Party. I can't really say anything about yet because we haven't fully established that. But yeah, so you want to tell us about yourself,
Yeah.
Jana?
Hi, I'm Jana. I'm 17 as well. I currently study English literature, history, and politics. And I guess my passion for politics started out when I was a kid. I used to sit at the dinner table, well, eating my breakfast. I have a newspaper in front of me, glued to the news on the TV as well, absolutely obsessed with it. And people used to ridicule I can't speak, ridicule me on school trips when we'd sit on the train and I'd have my newspaper out and everyone would be talking about what's the latest Xbox game, and I'd sit there reading my politics.
Little niche.
Little neat, yeah. Um, yeah, and then from a young age, I was always very interested in politics, was part of the school council. I was fortunate enough to go to Parliament where I cited Boris Johnson. That was very interesting. Met Sadiq Khan and had a very heated debate with Ian Duncan Smith at 8 years old, in which he did not want to listen to anything I had to say. Um, so then from that, in recent years, I campaigned for my local candidate in the Labour Party. I led the digital media cohort leader campaign, where I managed a lot of the digital media side of things, digital media campaigning, and then I also did canvassing on the side. So that's it, just going around knocking on people's doors, asking them who they're voting and why they should vote for our party. And then that was mostly with Pfizer Shaheen, yeah. And then I resigned for the Labour Party after she was deselected and continued to campaign for her ever since. So that was a really cool experience. I got to meet a lot of interesting people along the way, a lot of networking. I met Magic Circle lawyers, and I also canvassed with the legendary snooker player Ronnie O'Sullivan, which was very cool. Yeah, it was so weird seeing him in real life when your whole life you've seen him on TV. And so currently, I'm active in local campaigns to fix a local bridge, Walmy Bridge, that has been shut due to crumbling concrete. So yeah, we're running a short campaign on that to hopefully put pressure on the local council.
They've actually sent a letter around
Yeah,
because of our pressure group, which is great.
yeah. And then furthermore in that, I'm active in a local campaign, local divestment campaign for a free Palestine, which includes economic strategization and putting pressure on the council.
It's great, great. Actually, my stepdad, he met Theresa May.
No
And
way.
he did. And then she was like, "Oh, who are you voting for Brexit?" And he was like, "Oh, I did no vote." And she kind of just walked away and she didn't say anything, which was quite funny because she was his local MP. And he told me about that. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite.
So, touching on to what Nika said, we recently attended a Palestine lobby day at Parliament. So I'm just wondering how you found that experience.
I didn't really know about it from the start because I'm mostly in the Ukraine and Russia side. So learning about that was actually really cool, and meeting so many MPs as well,
Yeah.
and different people with different views. We actually met someone from our close to our constituency, because we went, but we weren't going to talk to our constituent because
Not really fan.
We don't really like him. And then we met someone from the person, from, should we say Stella Creasy?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a lot better, let's just say the least. So then we had a nice conversation with him. Forgot his name, but sweetheart. Who did we meet on the day?
While waiting for MP, we met this guy called Professor Chris Imafidon, and he's a professor at Cambridge. That was really interesting. He gave us an insight into how we can like propel our career further in terms of like if we want to go down the path of law, politics. That was really cool. We also met a curator of the British Library just in the queue for Parliament, which was insane. It really shows when you go to these things, you really don't know who you're going to meet. And anyone watching this, to be honest, I'd say like seize that opportunity
Yeah.
to go. So yeah, moving on from that.
No, but even so, we waited for 2 hours.
They gave us
in
free
queue.
water.
They gave us free water, but it was long. It was long. But we met like some Green Party members, not party members, Green
We met
MPs. What's
the
her
leader of
name?
the Green Party.
Yeah. I forgot her name, Bessa, but we were like, oh, we're young members of the Green Party. Can we get a photo of you?
We're not young members of
I
the Green
know.
Party.
And she's like, yeah, of course. And I felt really bad. And also
Oh, Carla Denver. That was her
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
And then the Glasgow, North Glasgow.
Yeah, we met in Glaswegian MP. That was
Yeah.
very cool.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. And then moving on from that, alongside the lobby day, we were very unfortunate to attend a special parliamentary meeting, which was being led by the Right Honourable Member Richard Bergen. So he was speaking about the new private member bill he wants to introduce in terms of Palestine. So to our viewers watching, they're probably wondering what is a private members bill. So could you tell them what it is?
Private members bill is that a bill that an MP or a backbencher introduces from urgent questions or during PMQs to try and introduce new legislation, such as the recent euthanasia bill, which hasn't been fully put into
It needs to be
place yet.
amended, doesn't it?
It needs to be amended, but I think that actually going across, because it's very hard to put it into legislation, these private members bills, because, well, really, backbenchers and MPs who aren't at a high, not level, but, rank,
Yeah.
they don't really have much influence within these kind of legislations. So the fact that went through is really, really cool, considering it's a highly, conflicted issue. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, definitely. And then on the topic of private members bills, Jeremy Corbyn today actually presented the Gaza Independent Public Inquiry. So that basically is going to make provisions for established an independent public inquiry into the UK involvement in Israeli operations in Gaza. So I think that's potentially going to address the continued
Yes,
sale of
yeah.
F-35 parts that the government is denying.
Listened to the PMQs yet today, but hopefully...
I've seen clips of it.
Yeah, we've seen clips on his Instagram.
Kemi Badenoch needs to go.
Oh,
See, it's over.
so excuse them.
All of them. I think we do a better job.
Yeah, let's run for Prime Minister.
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of local impacts we're doing, so do you want to talk about Broadmead Bridge?
Yeah,
Broadmead Bridge.
Broadmead Bridge, excuse me, is a local bridge that recently got shut down 2 years ago, and it's really impacted not even the local, not society, but local people in itself, but
Yeah.
especially the school kids, because there's this bus that links the kids from one area to another. Because basically, the people who come to our school might come from quite far as well, because we accept students from all around London. Well, not all around London, but most of East and North. So the fact they can hardly get to school and it takes over an hour when it should take minimum 20 minutes is ridiculous. And it just impacts their education as well.
My takeaways are cold too.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, yeah, so we're trying to put pressure on the council to hopefully
Definitely, yeah.
reopen it. I mean, it is looking quite unlikely at the moment because Hammersmith Bridge, I mean, that's been closed for much longer and they've still not got the funding. I think the funding for Broadmead Road Bridge, isn't it like 4 million, 20 million or something?
And considering it's such an old bridge, it will take forever. And there's also a train line going underneath it. And TfL just refused to build it back, which is just ridiculous because it's known as their property. So the fact they're not even willing to put money towards it, considering how much money they even make, is insane, if you ask me. Like, you can at least put a bit of it, but...
I find it fascinating. We have all the money to increase the GDP to 3% in terms of defence costs, but we can't afford to fix domestic life for our own constituents. Doesn't make sense.
Hot kettle black.
Yeah, exactly.
There's also other bridges in our area that are also as old as this, and we rely on them as an area. But what if those also break down? What's going to happen to our area, considering transport-wise?
Exactly. It's a massive issue with concrete, especially like our libraries. Some of our libraries have had to shut because of the crumbling concrete. And it just makes us think, well, Why were they designed with that concrete in the first place? They were designed to fall apart. So
So we've also met loads of young people within the canvassing as well as older people.
yeah,
Yeah. Teachers just come in.
teachers.
But yeah, met this. Should we talk about Casper?
Yeah.
He's this insanely smart year 10 who's completely involved in politics and very
Future guest.
future guest potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, just going around and seeing everyone's opinions just really puts it into perspective of how much this issue has been
Yeah.
affecting everyone.
So moving on in terms of revision podcast, I guess. So next week we are going to be talking about have the reforms since 1997 been successful and how we can improve them.
Yeah.
So that will be in terms of, under the Blair and Brown years.
Yeah,
House rules
definitely.
reform, devolution.
So what will happen is we'll have two sides of the argument, and potentially we'll have someone in between to see
Like a mediator,
who wins, make sure it doesn't get too heated. Potentially maybe Josiah.
Potentially.
Josiah, very left-wing conservative who's worked for Ian Duncan Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's very smart, very smart. But okay, I think that's it for the introduction. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening to our introduction episode. And yeah, don't forget to tune in for next week.
Yes, make sure to follow us.
Remember, this is Sixth Sense Politics.